Okay, so I was updating my Sephora loves list the other day, taking things off, adding things to it, because they recently announced the Sephora Spring Savings event dates, which starts in April. So I've kind of been thinking about which products I want to try, creating a wish list, and whenever I know there is a savings event right around the corner, I always go through all of my previous purchases to see if I need to restock any of my favorite products, like things that I buy over and over that I would have paid full price for. So I'll probably do a video on my wish list soon, but I thought it'd be fun to share the products that I have repurchased for years. I'll probably do a drugstore version too, but for today's video, I wanted to share like high-end makeup products that are so good that I pay for them over and over. I continuously add them to my collection. I love them. They are true staples, not just favorites from the last year, but favorites for years and years. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let's get started. I applied a lot of these products on camera so you could see what they look like, how they apply, so I hope that's helpful. So 2023 was definitely the year of concealer. Every single brand was launching a concealer, every single high-end brand, and there were a lot of really good formulas that I fell in love with. Definitely the Natasha Denona High Glam, the Tower 28 Serum Concealer. Those are two of my favorites. I've already repurchased the Natasha Denona High Glam twice, so I feel like that will probably be at like my most repurchased list, at the top of my most repurchased list for concealer within like the next year or two. And I do plan on repurchasing the Tower 28 one during the Sephora sale. But prior to those, my most repurchased concealer and a formula that I still love is this one from Kosas. Kosas is a brand that I'm always curious about, but most of the time their products don't end up working out for me and my skin type and my preferences. But thankfully that has not been the case with this concealer. It is such a beautiful, creamy, gorgeous formula. I love using it as a spot concealer because it just melts into the skin and it looks really nice under foundation if you're using it to first kind of conceal or cover redness or breakouts. So a lot of concealers I feel like look kind of heavy when you layer foundation on top of them, but that's not the case with this one. But it's also really beautiful under the eyes because it is so creamy. It blends out so nicely, but it's not too blendable. Like it doesn't blend away to nothing. It still has nice coverage without being over the top. And I just feel like it's a really good everyday concealer. I love the finish of it. The shade I have is 3.5W, which I feel like is maybe slightly too yellow tone. Mine's almost gone, so I probably will end up repurchasing this too because I feel like it has been one of my go-to formulas for the spring. I think I put this in my everyday makeup drawer last time I updated it because I've been using this a little bit more frequently lately, and also because I ran out of my Tower 28 one and I need to repurchase that too. I would say it's somewhat similar to Tower 28, but Tower 28 is definitely thinner, and this one has more of like a soft satin finish, where the Tower 28 one is a little bit more glowy, at least on my skin. So I love this product. I think it works so well. Such a good, gorgeous, beautiful formula. I can't even tell you how many times I've repurchased the LYS Beauty Triple Fix Translucent Setting Powder. When I first tried this, it didn't feel like a formula that I would personally love because it is so lightweight. And at the time, I was really into like heavier setting powders, super mattifying formulas. So this one really surprised me because it is very lightweight. It is so soft, so pretty on the skin. It definitely has like that undetectable feel and finish to it. So I always say, like, if you're not a powder fan, this is the type of powder that you'll like because it just lightly sets your makeup into place, but it doesn't look powdery. It's not overly mattifying, but it still has a really nice, soft, smooth finish. It's $19, so definitely one of the more affordable powders at Sephora. But to be honest, I don't know that I've tried a drugstore powder that feels quite like this. The one that I would most compare it to, or the one that I would say is the most comparable to this one, is the Catrice. They're like waterproof translucent powder, but still there's something about this one that's just like a little bit softer on the skin. So I love using this under the eyes because I do feel like it kind of blurs over my fine lines, but on top of that, it still sets my concealer into place well. And I always like using this if I'm using cream cheek products that day because it does set the creams into place without completely taking away that glowy, dewy finish. And you can actually layer cream products on top of this really easily. It doesn't give you like that cakey, powdery look that you can get if you're layering creams on top of powders. So all around, just a gorgeous powder. I've had this in my collection like ever since I purchased it. No matter what other powders I was into at the moment, I've always repurchased this and gone back to it and incorporated it into my routine because there are just days and makeup looks that I feel like I have to use this powder. Or what am I trying to say? There are just like very specific days where I feel like no other powder no other powder will do. And I could use this all the time. But I will say, if it is like 90 degrees outside, it's humid, I'm wearing makeup, this isn't the powder that I'll reach for because I might need something a little more mattifying and longer lasting than this. But for day to day, it's perfect. So obviously when it comes to complexion products, like those are things you're usually using every day, multiple times a week. So it makes sense to go through those products a little bit more quickly than a lip product or a cheek product where you might reach for different shades depending on the makeup look or the day. So when it comes to lip products and cheek products, if it's a formula I love so much, I usually do grab it in another shade. And that's how I kind of know it is one of my most repurchased formulas. So this has become one of my most repurchased formulas fairly recently. I think I just tried it for the first time like last spring, and I've repurchased it in like 4 or 5 different shades. It is the Lawless Forget the Filler Lip Plumping Line Smoothing Gloss. This has to be one of the best lip gloss formulas out there if you love like a super smooth glass-like finish. These are a little bit thicker, so they definitely give your lips like that gorgeous, intense, glossy sheen. They feel really comfortable. They're definitely moisturizing, and they do last on my lips a little bit longer than other gloss formulas. I really, like, as I'm thinking through the other gloss formulas I love at Sephora, I don't think anything quite comes close to this one. Ever since I fell in love with this formula, like it's really been my go-to lip gloss formula because I just feel like it looks so good, it wears well, it has the perfect glossy sheen, and they have a bunch of gorgeous colors to choose from. In fact, I did add one to my Sephora loves list that I'm planning on buying during the next Sephora sale. So I tried a couple of these on for you just so you can see what they look like, the shades, the smooth glossy finish. They are amazing. The only thing I will say about these, I mentioned this in a couple of videos, but they're definitely more sheer in person than they are online. Like the photos online make them look really intense, and I don't know if they've just like altered the colors or they have liner and lipstick underneath, but every time I get one in person, it's definitely a lot less intense, which I actually appreciate because I do prefer more of a sheer formula, but that's just something to know. And I will say this applicator is so good. It's oversized, it's curved perfectly, so I feel like you can just apply the product really quickly without having to dip back in over and over. So I absolutely love these. They really are my go-to formula these days. So I probably haven't purchased this specific lip product formula in a little while, but when it launched, it was like my go-to formula. And then when I did my everyday makeup drawer, again, I think I did that in January. I forget when I switched it up, but I put these products in my drawer so I would make more of an active effort to use them, and I just fell back in love with them. And as I was going through my purchase history on Sephora's website, I realized just how often I repurchase this formula. So I don't know that I will repurchase it anytime soon because I do feel like I have a good range of shades, but I think I probably have like 5 or 6 of these. These are the Makeup by Mario MoistureGlow Plumping Lip Serums. These are really, really pretty. They're basically like glossy sticks, somewhat similar to the Tarte Maracuja Juicy Balms, but I would say a little bit thinner. So not quite as, I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, I would say they're very, very similar, but these do have more of like a balmy, serumy texture. Like they're definitely a little bit, not runnier, but thinner. I love the Tarte Maracuja Juicy Balms as well, but I think the reason why I reach for the Makeup by Mario ones over Tarte, or at least I have been recently, is because I like the Makeup by Mario shades a little bit better. They have such a good range of nudes, from like very, very super light nudes, like Nude Glow is almost like a translucent nude, all the way up to, well, the darkest one I have is Mocha Glow, which is more of like a bronzy nude. And then I know they have some pink shades as well. I just think these are nice, and I've loved wearing them again recently, but for like a minute I was obsessed with these and I really wouldn't reach for anything else. So I do love these. I think the formula is really, really nice. But if you prefer more of like a traditional lip gloss, I would go with the Lawless formula, whereas these are like very thin, almost like runny lip balms, but they do look really pretty too. This is possibly my most repurchased makeup product ever. I have gone through so many tubes of the Tower 28 MakeWaves mascara. And I will say, I think part of the reason I have to repurchase it a little bit faster than other mascara formulas is because it does dry out a little bit faster. And that wasn't the case when they first launched it. And I didn't know if it was just me, but I mentioned that in a video and some of you said that you've had the same experience. It feels like now when I repurchase it, it dries out a lot faster than it did when it first launched. So I don't know if that is because they've changed the formula a little bit, or because like they just produced a ton of it, and as the products are like sitting on the shelves, they're drying out a little bit even when they're unopened. I'm not sure what the case is, but it really is such a good formula, even though it dries out a little bit faster. It could be hard to justify for that reason because it is a higher end mascara, but I truly haven't found anything that looks as good on the lashes as this. It does everything I want. It lifts the lashes, curls them, adds a ton of volume, a good amount of length, and honestly, like I have a hard time using something else. There are other formulas I love, definitely some great drugstore options, but if I'm traveling, if I'm just doing my makeup quickly, if I'm in a hurry, like this is always my go-to formula. I'm going through a phase where I'm not super into blush right now. I feel like that is the one makeup product where I really flip back and forth on. Like there are times where I love blush and I cannot do my makeup without it. And then there are phases like right now where I'll just use like a rosy bronzer. By the way, NYX came out with new rosy bronzers and I can't wait to try those. I did order them. I'm planning on doing like a testing new drugstore makeup video very soon. So anyway, as I was thinking about like my most repurchased products and scrolling through, I realized that I repurchased quite a few of these Patrick Ta blushes. These are the Double Take Cream and Powder blushes. I talk about these a lot on my channel because whenever I do reference like my favorite blush formula at Sephora, I always mention these. And honestly, I did add one to my loves list because Patrick Ta came out with 3 new duos, and there's a really beautiful like lighter, softer nude duo that I feel like I would get a lot of use out of. So I do have this brighter pink one. This is probably my least worn one, just to be honest with you, because when I do wear blush, it usually is like some sort of bronzy blush, nude blush, rosy blush. It isn't always like a bright pink. So I wear this one a little bit or quite a bit. This one is She's Blushing, but my go-to formula is definitely She's So LA. Which one am I wearing today? It's this one, She's So LA. As I was applying this today, I was like, wait, I kind of feel like I need to start incorporating blush into my routine again because this just looks so good on the skin. You can use the powder alone, but it looks amazing when you layer the cream blush on top, which is what I'm wearing on top. I'm not wearing highlighter. I feel like I've been skipping highlighter a lot lately too, but I love this because it's so effortless to use. Like the cream really does melt into the skin. It doesn't look heavy or cakey or patchy or uneven. Like these really are worth the hype in my opinion. So I have gone back to these. I mean, I guess I only have 3, but 3 is kind of a lot for me because I don't typically purchase a ton of blush, and if I do, it might be like one shade from a brand, but I've loved this enough to repurchase it 3 times, or I guess purchase it once and then repurchase it twice. But I think I might grab a new shade during the next Sephora sale. Oh, I forgot, I have one more lip product to share with you. These are the Rare Beauty, these are the Stay Vulnerable Glossy Lip Balms. Maybe these were more popular when they first launched. I was kind of late to the game. Like I didn't try them initially, but I feel like this is one of Rare Beauty's most underrated product. It is such a gorgeous formula. And again, if you are into glossy lips, but maybe you don't want like the slight tackiness that you get with the, what was I talking about? The Lawless glosses, or maybe you don't want like such a thin texture like you get with the Makeup by Mario ones, these are perfect because they literally are glossy lip balms. Like they have that liquefied lip balm texture with like a little bit of a glossy sheen, but they're not over the top. They feel so good on the lips, like incredibly moisturizing, super nourishing. They're not the most long lasting because they do have more of that balmy feel, but even as the color wears off, I feel like there's a little bit left behind. My favorite is Nearly Neutral. I think I've repurchased this specific shade like 3 times because I keep losing it, which is really frustrating, but it's the type of product that I feel like I always have with me. Like if I'm traveling, if I'm running out the door, if I, have like a go-to lip product in a purse or a bag, like this is the one I have. That is part of the reason why it is one of my most repurchased products, because I've had to repurchase this shade a few different times. But that's very rare for me. Like I have a drawer full of really good lip products, and usually if I lose one that I'm loving or I misplace it, I can find something somewhat similar within my own collection. But I don't feel that way about this formula or this specific shade. Like I just love it so much that I have spent the money on it a few different times. I have 2 other shades. I have Nearly Apricot and then also Nearly Berry. I also love Nearly Berry because sometimes I want like a little bit of a bolder lip, but I don't want to commit to like a regular lipstick or a highly pigmented lip gloss. So this is perfect on those days because I do get like a berry toned lip color, but it's a little bit more sheer and just really wearable. So I love these so much. Like if you are looking for like a good go-to everyday formula, I do recommend these. I forgot to apply this product on camera, but I've actually repurchased this like 3 or 4 different times. It is the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Set and Refresh Spray. I actually just purchased a mini last time we were out of town because I forgot to pack it, and I felt like my skin just needed this product. Like during the winter, I can't really do my makeup without it because I always use this as a base. It's just very, very moisturizing, really refreshing, and I feel like all of my makeup just goes on so much better when I'm wearing this underneath. So it is meant to be like a setting spray, something you can use throughout the day to kind of refresh your makeup. It does give you more of a glowy finish if you're using it as a setting spray, but it's also great as like a priming spray as well. It's kind of up to you if you feel like it'd be worth the money to incorporate into your routine as a priming spray if you use a separate primer, but I definitely find that to be the case. Like I'll either just use this on its own, especially when I'm in a hurry and I don't want to take the time to like work a primer into my skin. It's great on its own, but I also like using it underneath other primers. Like today I use this and then I use the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer, like the liquid one. And even though the e.l.f. formula is more matte, starting with this just allows that product to sink in better. And it almost like it fights against products that are too matte and helps them look a little bit more skin-like. So I love this product. I think it is amazing. It really does make a difference for me, but it's a subtle difference. There are 2 different skincare products that I wanted to share in today's video because I have repurchased them, again, so many times that I honestly can't even count. So the first one is from Paula's Choice. Like every time I'm not using this regularly in my skincare routine, I notice, and then I go on Sephora's website and I repurchase it. So I've been using this for years and years. I don't even know exactly when I first tried it, but it's been a really long time. Like one of the longest standing skincare products in my routine. It's the 2% BHA liquid exfoliant. I feel like this went viral on TikTok fairly recently, but they've had this in their line for a long time, and it really is such a good formula if you deal with texture or breakouts, if you have really oily skin. This is such a nice product because it definitely works to smooth over the texture of your skin. Whether that is, you know, clogged pores or actual like active breakouts or scarring due to breakouts, or you just have fine lines, like this actually works to almost filter your skin in real life. So I really do love this, and I also feel like if you have really oily skin, it kind of almost like, I don't want to say it cuts back on the oiliness, but it does. Like it almost works to balance your skin really well too. Now, I used to use this with a cotton pad, and then one of you suggested just like actually pouring it onto my hand and pressing it into my skin. And ever since I started doing that, like this bottle will last me like at least 60 to 70% longer than it used to. You honestly need like 2 drops of this, and then you rub it together and like press it into your skin, and it's perfect. So if you are using this with a cotton pad, try applying it with your fingers because it goes such a long way. So I haven't been repurchasing it quite as frequently over the last year or 2 since I read that tip, but I do love having this in my collection. It makes such a difference. It's not something I use every day. I really like to rotate my skincare products, so I probably use it like every other day, every 2 days, but it works extremely well. And then one of my go-to products is the Inkey List Salicylic Acid Cleanser. I feel like I always have to have this on hand, and I will switch up my cleansers. Like right now I'm using the Fenty cleanser. I think did I purchase that during their last sale? I think I did. I'm almost out of it. And then during the spring and the summer, I really love using this one because my skin's a little bit more oily. I deal with more breakouts, and this is perfect. It's the perfect texture. It is a gel cleanser, but it's not as runny as other gel cleansers. Like you really just need the smallest amount, add a little bit of water, and then work it into a lather. And it has like a nice thick texture to it. So it really feels like it's not gripping onto your skin, but it feels like it's doing something and not just like running off of your face immediately. I wouldn't say it is the most moisturizing formula, but it doesn't dry my skin out. So I would say if you have acne prone skin or texture or blackheads, this is a really, really nice option. And it looks like a small bottle, but this will last forever because you really need like a tiny amount, like a dime size amount or less. Okay, so those are some of my most repurchased products from Sephora. I hope you enjoyed today's video. It was fun to talk about these because these are things that I love, that I've had years of experience using, and I just go back to time and time again. I would love to know what your most repurchased products are. I feel like for a lot of people, it's either complexion products like foundation and powder and concealer, or brow products. So let me know if you have any of those or other formulas that you love, that you feel like anytime there is a sale or you're purchasing something from Sephora, you like to add another one to your cart. And I just lost my train of thought. I feel like that happens a lot these days. I guess that's it. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. I will see you very soon with the new one. Bye.